Code Bunny is a fairly recent Mega Man style platformer. We've been getting a lot of those lately. A nice distraction as we wait with bated breath for Mega Man Funko Pop game. Thank you, Capcom. Actual thanks goes to Violetta at Team 7 Star for reaching out to me about this game. The team did some solid work here and I'm happy to be giving it more exposure. That being said, Code Bunny is a pretty good addition to the genre. It's got everything you'd expect from modern Mega-likes, an emphasis on movement, story, expansive levels, closer to the later Mega Man games. After the 3DS eShop shut down, the bunny from Nintendo Badge Arcade was out of work, and eventually enlisted in the Xanadu army using a new alias, Hazel. She kinda plays like Kirin from Gunvolt 3, sword combat with projectiles used to lock on and dash into enemies. She has a cool thing where continuously killing enemies will make the sword stronger, but she also takes more damage. It's classic risk-reward gameplay, a core aspect of the Mega Man design philosophy. However, I do think the other character, Axel, is more fun to play as. You can go fast with Hazel, it just takes some practice. Axel is a former ice skater, who of course comes out zooming. He can bounce off enemies using Spin Attack, which brings up the EX gauge, giving you access to the Comment Arts. These are powerful kicks, jumps, and dashes to make easy work of enemies. Axel is just really satisfying to play as, although I do think he's hindered by controls that could be better. Typically Mega-likes handle lightning quick, if you will, or at least not like this. I might just suck at it, but I never got used to the handling of this game. It was both too heavy and floaty, and I never felt it needed to be for any gameplay reasons. I do feel like this could click with me in the future, but right now I'm just not feeling it. What makes Code Bunny special to me, and what I think a hypothetical sequel should lean into, is its level design. An effort was made here to emphasize movement and level exploration. Higher routes and very open spaces are what stood out to me. This reminds me of the first Gunvolt game, where the gameplay is super unique and cool, and the level design complements it, but in a way that isn't using it to its fullest potential. Code Bunny has a lot of Sonic influences in its level design, but often brings us back to more familiar Mega Man structures. If this does get a sequel, my recommendation, just go all out with the idea of Kirin on roller skates at Mushroom Hill. This game is stuck between being an awesome, like, Freedom Planet type thing with Mega Man highlights, and just being a decent Gunvolt 3 clone. If you really want this to go somewhere, get crazy with it. Also get crazy with the bosses next time because these ones were kinda lame. The characters are so powerful to where it makes these bosses pretty easy to cheese. If you're going to have this kind of gameplay, the boss patterns need to be speedier and more complex than these. I think these fights would work fine enough in a Mega Man Zero game, but not this. There is dialogue before the battles. Faye is the most intriguing. She's a member of the Nyx clan who live in a forest which Lagos Hyperbolics, Hazel's organization, took control over. This is the first sign that things might not be as they seem with the story. I just think it's interesting to see a game like this tackle this kind of issue. I think leaning into these kinds of political issues could be an interesting idea for a sequel. It's something that would stand out in this genre. The story deals with a lot of heavy stuff, but of course they're still fun to be had. There's a talk button at HQ similar to Gunvolt, which allows you to interact with the team. There's lighthearted stuff like Igusa's grape juice addiction, or Hazel getting annoyed at everyone going through her stuff. A little more character insight is here too, so it's worth checking in every now and again. When it comes to how our protagonists are as characters, Hazel comes off as a bit rude at first, but she definitely has her reasons. Axel is more of an average guy, but both of them share the trademark Mega-like character staple, trauma. As usual, I'll be spoiling a lot of story stuff. I just thought I'd mention it this time since this game isn't as well known. Hazel killed a friend of hers during a mission, which she deeply regrets, and Axel's brother died of an illness. By the way, the karma Hazel has for doing this builds up in the sword, which is why it gets stronger as she gets weaker, which is a pretty awesome detail. This game does that thing a lot of short one-season anime do. Okay, you think the story is gonna go right on this lane, but then they tell you, the car was actually underwater the whole time. It starts with you thinking Mad Bunny are the villains, but then the CEO of the organization Axel and Hazel work for wants to do some world-ending plan using this guy, who's actually Axel's brother. Yeah, he isn't dead after all. There's a lot of great moments during the endgame, like Hazel learning to grow from her awful mistake, Axel talking Rafi out of a fight, or the game's whole message being encompassed through Soleil realizing you don't have to destroy the world because things didn't go your way. You can take the pain of losing and use it as motivation to get back up. You can't change the past, but you can change the future, and that's decided by how you're acting now. I like what Axel says to Rafi. You've done bad things, you need to pay for them, but I'm right here with you. Accept your consequences and punishments and become a better person through that. You always have a choice even if it seems too far gone. Pretty great stuff, but I do think the endgame could have been paced better. When things start ramping up in a game like this, it can be difficult to balance the heavy narrative moments with fast-paced gameplay. Very often it felt like I was watching a movie during these final levels. Quite a few cutscenes or story-driven stages that went on a bit too long. What makes it worthwhile though is not only the engaging story, but also visuals. This game uses a pixel art style that leans more 8-bit. It's more minimal compared to other titles in the genre, which is refreshing. This also helps the colors pop more, whether it be the orange leaves contrasting the dark blue forest, the cherry sky over the temple, the blinding snow, it all looks great. The soundtrack complements the simpler aesthetics very well, thanks to it being done entirely in FamiTracker. It's like a more complex take on Mega Man 4, 5, and 6's music. So, the identity of Code Bunny is what I'd like to discuss in closing. As a whole, Code Bunny is a good Mega Man with Sonic-y elements game, but I can totally see this formula taking off and becoming truly the next big thing. If the devs really lean into that Mega Man Zero in Sonic world type thing. I can see myself revisiting this game in a more retrospective style video, especially if we get a sequel. I was pretty scatterbrained throughout this video, really because I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this game still. Like, I really see something special here, but it's just a little blurry, I guess. The story and characters are well put together. Yeah, I like Code Bunny a lot. And I hope we get something truly masterful in the future since I feel it's possible. Thanks again to everyone at Team 7 Star for this game, and for giving me the opportunity to take a look at it. The store page is in the description. It's only $10, which I'd say is more than worth it. Thanks for sticking around until the end, it really means a lot, and I hope to see you next time.